Hey everybody, it's good to see you. We continue to look at this speech or talk or message or teaching, the longest one recorded in the Bible from Jesus, about what it really means to live like him. He's talked through all of these attitudes that he promises will bring us joy, not the type of attitudes that you expect, like being persecuted, like being humble, like having a heart like him, but really in life, when we can allow the worries of life to pass away and the focus of God to consume our heart, we will find joy. Last week we looked at this concept that Jesus talked about, two illustrations, one of us being like salt, and today we'll look at the other of being like light. But they really go together. And if you remember last week, we looked at two purposes of salt. One was to preserve things or to keep things alive or give them life so they don't spoil. And the other was just to make life better, to make it taste better, to make it richer, to make it fuller. And if you are really following God and you are living like God wants you to, you will bring life, preserve life in people's life and places where you're at, but you also just will make life better. Have you ever been around people that when they come into the room, it's a better place. It becomes a better place because of them. That's the illustration that Jesus is using. Now then he goes into talking about light. Now we're from the city. And so in the city, a lot of times you don't see stars so much because it's so bright. There's lights from the city, there's lights from businesses, there's lights from homes, there's lights from cars, there's lights everywhere. And so because of there being so much light, the darkness isn't as predominant, even at nighttime, right? But have you ever gone up into the mountains? And in the mountains where there isn't the white light, the city lights just shining, and you can actually let the darkness set in, you could see stars, and you could see a lot of stars. And there have been so many times I've been people from the city that when we go up camping or hiking at night, and they look up at the sky, they're like, wow, I've never seen so many stars. Light will always be stronger than darkness. Right? But in comparison to darkness, you need to have darkness to be able to see light. Now, Jesus uses this illustration to talk about our lives and what we do with them. He says this, you are the light of the world. Now, a town built upon a hill, it can't be hidden, and people don't put a lamp up and then put a bowl on top of it. Actually, what people do is they light a lamp and they put it up on a stand so that everybody in the room or in the house can see, and it gives light to everybody. And he says this, in the same way, let your light shine before others so that they can see your good deeds and they can glorify your Father in heaven. So Jesus actually gives us a very easy explanation to what he means when he says to let your light shine. It's all about our good deeds. It's all about our actions. So what we need to ask ourselves is, are we living in such a way, are our actions coming across in such a way that they are like light shining in the darkness, that they stand out, that they make the room a brighter place, that they make the world a better place? Those actions can be as small as you want or as big as you want. The point is that somebody else would see them and would say, wow, that was amazing. Or why did you do that? Or it would be, if you want to use certain terms, it would be a blessing to people. It would be an encouragement to people. It would lift people around you. What could you do today that would be an action, right? That could be a good deed, if you want to use those terms, that people would go and say, wow, they're different. Because that's the whole point. And Jesus says, in the same way, be the light of the world, that people could see your good deeds, and then the result of that is they would praise your Father in heaven. So they actually wonder, why are you acting like this? Why do you live like this? Why do you always do that? Why are you always so helpful? Why are you spending your money that way? Why are you using your time that way? Why do you not get mad at people? Why do you go out of your way to help people? And we could easily say, it's because of God. And then they would say, oh, well, then I want to know more about your God. That's the hope, and that's the point Jesus is trying to make, is that we don't get any focus or attention on our own simply because we're doing these things, but the focus is on God, and God in our lives being the true motivation of why we do the things that we do. So as you go today, think of those stars. Think about how in the darkest of nights, stars actually shine the brightest. and that we are supposed to shine like that. The light of our lives comes across in good deeds, in actions that we do day in and day out in everyday life, but we go the extra step, we go the extra mile. And when people notice it, they shouldn't notice it just because we're a good person, just because we're a kind person, just because we're a sacrificial person, but they should notice it because it is directly linked to our relationship with God. Go and be salt of the earth and the light of the world. God bless.